Rowlfs Big Test. It all started one Tuesday as school was ending. "Don't forget the spelling test tomorrow," said Mr. Bumper as the kids got up to leave. "I'm looking forward to seeing how you all do." "So am I," Ralph whispered to Piggy as they walked through the door. "Mr. Bumper's spelling tests are hard," Piggy said nervously as she and Ralph walked down the hall. "At least he gives us a list of words to study every week," Ralph replied. "But he must give us 100 words, and he chooses only 20 for each test," said Piggy. "I know," said Ralph, "but don't worry. If we study as hard as we can, we'll do fine." "Thanks, Ralph," Piggy smiled. "You made me feel better. Good luck to us both." Ralph hopped onto his bicycle and headed for home, but a block away from the school he stopped short. "Oh, gee," he thought, "I forgot. At lunchtime Mr. Bumper asked me to stay and see him before I left." So Ralph rode back to the school. He parked his bicycle at the stand outside the front door. When Ralph got to Mr. Bumper's classroom, he knocked on the door, but no one answered. He opened the door and peered inside. There on the blackboard was a scrawled message from Mr. Bumper. "Be right back, Ralph. Take a seat." Ralph wandered around the classroom while he waited. He read the posters about recycling. He said hi to Eddie and Sonia, the two class gerbils. Then he stopped at Mr. Bumper's desk and gave the globe a spin. That's when he saw it, lying among the papers piled on the desk. At first he didn't know what it was. Listed on a piece of paper were 20 words, words like supervise and raindrops and barnacle. Ralph had read 6 or 7 of them before he stopped short. "They're spelling words," he thought. "They must be the words that will be on tomorrow's test." Just then, Mr. Bumper walked into the room. Ralph quickly looked away from the desk. "Mr. Bumper," he said, "hi." "Hi, Ralph," said Mr. Bumper. "Thanks for waiting. I just wanted to go over yesterday's math assignment with you. I thought you could use a little help on the 3rd problem." Ralph could hardly hear Mr. Bumper talking. The words he had seen on the piece of paper kept flying around in his head. Supervise, raindrops, barnacle, unfriendly, ceiling, hiccups. There were only 20 words on each spelling test, and Ralph had seen 6 of them. Maybe that's not what they were, Ralph thought. But deep inside, Ralph's conscience knew that's just what they were. He felt miserable. That evening, Ralph studied as hard as he could for the spelling test. "I would have studied these words anyway," he told himself, but his conscience kept saying, "You did something wrong. You should say something to Mr. Bumper. You didn't mean to, but seeing those words was like cheating." At 8 o'clock that evening, Piggy called. "Hi, Ralph," she said brightly. "How's it going?" "Oh, okay," Ralph said. "I've been studying really hard for the spelling test," Piggy went on. "Thanks for making me feel better today. I think I'm going to do all right." "That's good," said Ralph. When Ralph hung up the phone, he felt worse than ever. He had seen 6 of the words and Piggy hadn't. He didn't know what to do, so he went to sleep and he tossed and turned the whole night. The next day in Mr. Bumper's class, Ralph sat silently as the spelling test was handed out. Of course he knew how to spell all the words. He finished in record time. The rest of the day seemed to go on forever. Ralph hardly spoke to anyone all afternoon. Finally, when school was over, he knocked on Mr. Bumper's classroom door. "Come in," called Mr. Bumper from the inside. "Ralph, I'm glad to see you," said Mr. Bumper as Ralph walked into the room. "I just finished grading your spelling test, and you'll be happy to know you got 100. Can you keep it a secret until tomorrow's class?" "I can keep it a secret," Ralph said miserably, "but there's something else that I can't keep a secret. My conscience has really been bothering me." Ralph told Mr. Bumper about seeing the spelling words. Then he just stood there feeling terrible. "Rolf," Mr. Bumper said, getting up from the desk, "you've done a very brave thing by telling me. But now we have a little problem to solve. It isn't really fair to let your grade stand. The question is, what should we do about it?" "I don't know what to do," Rolf said, "but I'm glad I told you. I feel a whole lot better." "So I'm taking the test again tomorrow," Rolf told Piggy the next afternoon. "Mr. Bumper said it was okay. By the way, congratulations on your 98. I knew you could do it." "Thanks, Rolf," Piggy said. "And I think it was really great that you told Mr. Bumper what happened. Hey, do you want to come over this afternoon? I could get my bike and we could go riding." "Gee, Piggy," said Rolf, "I'd really like to, but I have to go home and study. I've promised my conscience that I'm going to get 100 on this test too, the right way." "Well, good luck on the spelling test," called Piggy as Rolf rode away. "Don't worry, Piggy," Rolf replied, smiling over his shoulder. "I've already passed a much bigger test." And Rolf and his conscience rode happily home. Let's talk about listening to your conscience. Rolf had 2 different kinds of tests in this book, didn't he? He had a spelling test, but he also had a much harder test. Was he going to listen to his conscience or not? He passed both tests with flying colors. Your conscience is the little voice inside you that tells you what's right and what's wrong. It sometimes talks very quietly, but if you listen carefully, you'll always hear it. Here are some questions about your conscience for you to think about. Have you ever heard your conscience talking to you? What did it say? Have there been times when you didn't listen to your conscience? What happened then? The end.